Hey, hello and welcome back to Making It Look Great number 5 with me, Maltanen. First take a look at what we'll be creating in this video, and this is obviously what you see on your screen right now. And I must say that I'm really excited about this tutorial, even though it looks pretty common because you see those TV walls, TV screens quite a lot these days. I'm sure this tutorial is going to change the way you think about compositing. Mostly because I'm going to use some effects that are very commonly avoided by users because they simply don't understand how they work and therefore they don't see any potential for them. So okay, that's enough for the introduction. Let's get down to business. But first, let me just tell you how I prepared myself to record this tutorial. First, I recorded the footage. Then after capturing, I brought it into Premiere and made a rough cut. I just edited the footage the way I wanted to use it in the tutorial. Then, instead of rendering it and importing it back as a rendered file to After Effects, I actually imported Adobe Premiere project into After Effects. And that way it's much easier to key out the footage because we don't have to split it into separate shots. Because why should we, right? We already did this in Premiere. And splitting it into separate shots is necessary to get the key right because the key is going to be different on each of the shots. Even though it was shot in the same location, the light condition changes a little bit, the camera angle changes, and therefore we need to use different settings for different shots. So let me just show you quickly how I keyed out the footage. So basically, we're going to key out this shot, and it's good to work in full resolution when you're keying out. Because if you're working in half res, then probably you're not going to see some problems that may occur later on. So first of all, let's start by creating a quick garbage matte. And that is getting rid of everything else but the very edge of the subject that you want to key out. The most commonly used method is to simply take the pen tool and just draw a shape around our subject, right? But this is not a very tight junk matte, and we would have to be very careful and sometimes even animate this mask so it always covers our subject. And I don't know about you, but I don't like additional work in my project, so let's just get rid of this path, and I'm going to show you a quicker way to do that. Let's apply color range filter from the keying group. And this is not very commonly used for keying purposes, especially this type of footage. But I assure you, if it doesn't work for you as a main keying tool, then it's great for creating garbage mattes. Let me just sample one color here. And just take another sample. And we're already good. We've got some green spills in here, but we don't have to worry about them. And after all, we can always increase the fuzziness, like so, maybe even more. And even if we're going to cut out a little bit of our subject, we don't need to worry about that at this point. Okay, let's just leave it like that. Here we've got a nice preview of our alpha channel. And let's move this step forward. We're going to apply simple choker. And the key here is to set the choke matte amount to a negative number. Let's try -50. Okay, see where I'm going with this? And now I can go back to key light, apply it, and right now we can focus on the very edge of our subject, and we don't need to worry about anything that's in the background because there's nothing of interest there. So let's just grab the color sample tool and just sample the edge here, and voila, let's just check how it looks. Okay, it looks pretty good, but I think we've got a little dark halo in here. I don't know if you can see this, but it's there. Okay, so let's just try. Let's just double check oh, okay, yeah, we're cutting out a little bit of the hands and everything. So we can fix this in a several way. Keylight has a science of its own, and to do a tutorial on Keylight, we would have to spend like 6 hours maybe or even more to cover all the features in Keylight and how to deal with different problems. So for this, I'm going to just decrease the screen balance, and this should fix the problem. Okay, very nice. And just to make sure, we can go to Screen Matte and clip the blacks just a little bit, like 10 or 20, not to use too much of the soft edges here. Okay, I think that looks nice. Pretty quick key with nice garbage matte, and we're done. Very good. There's also one thing that I will point out. If you're doing keying on a daily basis, I really recommend Key Correct Pro plugins from Red Giant Software. It's a set of plugins to make it easier to key out things from green screen or blue screen. But not get mistaken, it does not contain any keying plugin on its own. You need to have Keylight or whatever plugin you use for keying. So let me just show you how I would do it using Key Correct Pro. Let's just turn off those effects for now. First, I would apply the artifactor, which is just great when you're keying out DV footage or HDV footage. And here we can set the preset for HD cam maybe. That should do. And next, my personal favorite, smooth screen. Let's just apply that. And after applying, I usually turn it off, take the color sample tool, choose a right color that I like, and then turn it on. Haha, see what happened there? Let me just go again. Turn it off and turn it on. What it does, it averages the hue and lightness of your green screen color, or blue screen for that matter. And take a look what's going to happen when I'm going to turn off the color range. Let me just reset it, turn it on, and sample the color. Ta-da! We got a pretty decent key just using color range, which I really like because the fuzziness filter and working in lab color space is really cool. And just increase the fuzziness to 30 and maybe sample this color from here, and voila! Very decent key in 3 simple steps without any headaches on the way. So we can easily get rid of simple choker and keylight in here and just take a closer look. Okay, that looks really great. Other plugin from Key Correct Pro set is Matte Feather EZ, which is pretty quick way to feather out the alpha channel just a little bit. We don't see it right now because it's set to 4 pixels and we're working in HDV, so let me just increase that to 10 so we can see what it does. Basically, it's feathering out the edges of our alpha. See? Right now I went way too far, but it's a great tool for basically blurring alpha edges. You can think of this filter like that. It's blurring the alpha edges. Pretty nice, very convenient, and I use it all the time when I'm doing keying. And in fact, I used Key Correct plugins to key out the footage for this tutorial. So if you're doing keying on a daily basis or even from time to time, this is really going to help you out. No more headaches, really. And for those of you who are wondering, this was shot using Canon HV20 camera, which is a pretty decent camera that you can get for a low price, and it gives you basically the most bang for a buck. So I personally recommend it. And I'm not getting paid for saying that, just to point that out. I wish I were, but unfortunately, I'm not. Okay, so let's get to the interesting stuff. Let's screenify this footage. Here we are in After Effects in a brand new project. And let's just put our footage into a new comp. Let's call this footage and do some organizing and put this inside. Okay, first we need to create some sort of a background for our footage. So let's just do that right now. Let's go ahead and create a new solid layer, comp size, that's it, and apply a ramp. And this method I'm going to show you is actually what I use on a daily basis when creating backgrounds for many compositions. It creates nice results in a short period of time and usually gets you started if you're not actually sure what you're looking for. And after applying a ramp, let's go and apply circle effect, which is also a very commonly used effect by me. And if you're not using it, because it seems like it's only rendering a circle, so that's really useless. I recommend checking out my free tutorial available on www.maltanen.com, and it's called Uses of the Circle, so you can see how I use the circle effect on a daily basis in After Effects. Okay, add, very nice. And just pump up the feather just a little bit and decrease the radius. Okay, very nice. Okay, I think I like that. Let's check how it looks. Okay, it looks very nice. Maybe we can even increase it just a little bit. Okay, let's just pre-compose this. Background, move all attributes, that's fine. And just in terms of organizing, let's put this into the footage folder. Okay, great. Very nice. Okay, so far so good. We got a pretty nice background, but let's add a little more depth to it. And by that, I mean creating some volumetric lights. Let's just jump right into our background comp and make a new solid. And this time we're going to make it square. So 600 by 600. Just zoom out here and pre-compose it. Leave all attributes because we want to keep the size the same. Volumetric lights, okay. And we're going to apply fractal noise. I think we can leave it at the default settings. Let's just shrink it down, squeeze it like that, and move it up. Like so. And let's just go ahead and apply shine on top of this. Like so. Oh yeah, we're going to keep the shine within the layer. We don't want that, so let's just create an adjustment layer, and that should fix the problem. And by the way, if you're not a happy owner of Trapcode Shine, I recommend checking out my free tutorial on my website called Volumetric Lights. You'll see how you can achieve the very similar effect using only built-in tools that are available in After Effects. But since I am a happy user of Trapcode Shine, I am going to use it. So let's just take the point and move it up. Like so. Maybe let's turn the background color on and change the colors to none. Therefore, we're going to emit rays based on the color of the layer. Okay, that's good. We definitely need more contrast in our fractal noise. So let's just pump it up really high. And you can already see what's happening here. That is pretty cool, in fact. Okay, let's go back to the shine and maybe we can boost the lights quite a bit. Whoa, that's way too much. 10. Yeah, that should do fine. And maybe let's lower the brightness a little bit. 50. Okay, very nice. Very nice. Okay, so now the only thing left to do is to create an expression for our evolution parameter. Time multiplied by 100. That should create nice, slow, shimmering kind of effect. Let's just see how that looks. Okay, it does look pretty fine. So let's just close this down and go back to our background layer. See, this is looking pretty nice. And I think we can try some blending modes. Okay, I think this one will do. And maybe let's just go ahead and add some contrast brightness on top of this. And let's just see. Okay. I think that's good. So let's just go back to our footage. Okay, that's much better. Looking really great. So having the footage pre-composed, we can now go and make it look like a screen, like a huge TV screen. Let's just name this screen like that. And first, I think we need to check how the screen actually looks when you look at it up close. So let's just go and check it with Google Images, TV, screen, up close. Okay, got this greedy kind of look in here. I don't think that's actually what we're looking for. Oh yeah, this is okay, this is okay, this is okay as well. As you can see, we've got those little cells of RGB colors, basically red, green, and blue. And old TV sets, I'm not talking about plasma or anything, like the old TV sets use those cells to display the images. So having that in mind, let's just go ahead, go back to After Effects and create that. Let's just start off creating a new composition, and let's call this cell color. And we need to make it really small. I'd like to have 1 pixel per color, so basically 3 by 3 pixels, but unfortunately After Effects is not going to allow us to do that. As you can see, when I put in 3 by 3, it rounds it up to 4 by 4. So instead of 3 by 3, let's go twice the size and make it 6 by 6. It's a very small composition, probably the smallest one you've ever done, but let's just go ahead and make it happen. Create a new solid, and instead of creating 3 solids with 3 different colors, I'm going to apply the ramp effect like so, and we're going to make it horizontal, 0 and 6. Okay, that's fine. And next, we're going to apply one of the effects that scares some users, colorama, which is one of the most commonly used effects by me. I really recommend checking it out, and you're going to have a chance to see how it works in this tutorial. So first of all, let's change the output cycle to RGB, and by the way, you can configure those this color wheel however you like. You can add new colors by simply clicking somewhere in the color wheel, and therefore changing the overall look of your footage, of your comp, of your ramp. It's a nice way to create multicolored gradients, as you see. Okay, well, let's go back to the preset and turn off Interpolate Palette. And that way we've got 3 solid colors, and that's good. That's exactly what we need. But we need to shift this a little bit to the left. Okay, like that. See what happens? I can change the order in which the colors appear, and I think that this is it, RGB. Very good. So having that composed already, let's go back to our screen comp and put the color cell on top of it. This is going to be tiny. Okay, so how do we make it bigger? Well, we can use one of the tiling plugins, and I recommend using Reptile in this case. And I just expand it to the right, expand it to the left. Okay, very good. So what do we do now? The next step is to set the blending mode to overlay. This creates a very nice look, although it might be different for different types of footage. It blends differently with different types of footage. For example, hard light doesn't do much in here, so you really need to check what works for you. But in this case, we're going to use overlay. But here's a little tip. It's always best to make After Effects think and calculate less stuff, right? It's pretty obvious. The less computing power, the better. So how can we make this work a little bit faster? Even though it's a pretty simple comp so far, but it's going to get more complex on the way. So having that in mind, let's just make it work faster. Let's go back to the cell color comp, and we can make this a little bit bigger, right? So we don't need to repeat this comp so many times using Reptile. So let's just go to comp settings and let's make it 20 times bigger. So 120 by 120. Okay. Let's just zoom out and go to our solid settings, make it comp size, and right now the ramp should also adjust Yeah, it did. Very nice. And the only thing left to do is to shift the colorama back in place. Okay, very good. So let's just go back to our screen comp. Ooh, what's that? Doesn't look good, huh? But we can fix that. Going back to the cell color. We could of course scale it down and then repeat it again, but that would defeat the purpose, right? So how can we make this color grid a little bit denser? Well, we can't use ramp to do that, but we can use colorama to do that. And if we go to the output cycle, we've got cycle repetitions parameter. And remember how much bigger this comp is from the original? It's 20 times bigger. So let's try that and shift the phase again. So we've got nice RGB colors. Okay, that actually looks good. Let's go back to the screen comp. Haha, okay, very good. So right now, if I reset this, we've got this huge piece to work with, and this is much better than working with a small one, because we don't need to expand it that much, even though visually it's exactly the same, but it's less computing power, and that is better for us. Okay, so far so good. Let's think what's more in a TV screen, because so far it doesn't look like a TV screen. It looks like a big artifact or something. So the next thing would be trying to shade those cells a little bit, because right now they look more like stripes, not like color cells. So let's just go back and create a new comp, and let's make it also 120 by 120. And we're going to create a new solid. But unfortunately, what I'm going to do right now cannot be achieved using colorama to create one huge solid and then repeat what's ever on that solid using colorama. So unfortunately, we have to go 6 by 6 and then use reptile inside this comp. This will be clear when I finish. So let's just zoom into this and maybe turn on the transparency grid and apply ramp effect again, like that. And I want this one to go in the diagonal order. So let's just make this 0 by 0 and this 6 by 6. And this is pretty good, but I'd like to light up this area and darken this area. I can of course grab this and just move it like that. But on the other hand, here's a cool trick. For solids that small in size, it doesn't really matter that much, but still you might be able to use it in your other projects. So let's just create a simple expression that says value 0, value 0, which basically means take this value and put it in here as well. And right now, if I'm going to drag this slider, this controller, it's going to work like this. And this is pretty awesome. And we don't need any additional sliders. We can just use the controllers in the effect itself, which is pretty cool. And you can also take this expression and just paste it in the start of the ramp, just like that, and do exactly the same thing. Ain't that cool? Okay, I think I like this. So right now, the only thing left to do is to apply reptile on this. Even though we're going to have a reptile over a reptile, because we're going to reptile this in the screen comp as well. But I think it's actually a good approach in this case, because After Effects is going to buffer this comp once and then is going to reptile it without looking into it, basically, if you're not going to check collapse transformation checkbox. So let's just go ahead and put that in, and of course name it cell shader and apply reptile again and expand it a little bit more, like so. Haha, take a look at how it looks right now. And this is the whole point. This technique makes things look cool when viewed from the distance. It really looks like it's being displayed on a huge screen. And when looking at it from up close, it also looks like a screen because you've got all those nasty pixels there. I really like this look. So the next step is to set the blending mode to overlay. Okay, overlay works fine. Maybe let's just try something else. Hard light. Oh, no. That's way too much. Let's stick with overlay for now. I think it's going to do just fine. And the last step I'd do is I would create the scan lines, right? So let's just make another solid, and apply the grid effect. Also very powerful, also pretty commonly used by me in any type of work. So to make it look like a scan line, we need to get rid of the vertical lines in here. So to do that, we can actually go anchor point 0 and 0 in here as well. And then move the corner way back. Like that. Let me just... Okay, this is good. And we can even go negative 10, for example, on the x-axis as well. And now we can just increase the density of the lines by dragging this slider. Very nice. Let's just zoom in and maybe decrease the border to 3. And how big our cells are? 6 pixels, right? So let's just do it with 6 pixels or 12. No, I think 6 will do. 6. Turn the color to black. And we can also feather it out just a little bit. Like 2 pixels. Okay, that starts to look really great. When you're looking at it up close, it's really pixelated, but you can still tell what the image is. But when we're going to put it in our final comp and make it a 3D layer and push it back and turn the background on, it really starts to look fantastic. Really starts to look great. Don't you agree? It really looks like a huge screen. Okay, so let's just reset the transformations and try to do something more with this. I think that adding a little bit of glow would really make the whole effect much punchier. So let's just apply standard glow. And okay, I like it. Let's just maybe decrease the threshold and increase the glow intensity. Just play a little bit with the settings. Okay, I think I like that. Okay, very well. But unfortunately, if you look closely, we've got those alpha bleeds in here, which I don't really like. And unfortunately, glow doesn't have any parameters that, restrain it to glow pixels only within the alpha of the layer. So how do we do it? Well, we could put the glow inside of the screen comp, but in some cases that might not work for you. So here's a cool tip. We're going to use CC Composite, one of those effects that most people don't use because they don't really see the point. So what CC Composite does, it basically overlays the original footage, or a pre-comp in this case, over everything that is above in the effects stack. That's the geeky talk. The simplest way to put it is it just takes the original footage and puts it on top of everything else based on the composite original settings that you choose in here. I can select the additive mode, I can set the overlay mode, and I can say stencil alpha. Ta-da! And no black, no color spills from the glow anymore. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so let's make it look a little bit more like a screen. In other words, let's create an array of TV screens. In other words, let's make this look like it's being displayed by a few TV sets. So let's apply grid effect again, And whoa, what's this? Well, the reason the grid is so huge is because of the glow. So we need to put this grid before our CC composite. See what happens? Very good. Okay, so let's just move this to the top. And now we can drag this and make it maybe 3 by 3. Okay, I think that's good. And like that. And now let's just change the transform mode to normal. Change the color to black. Okay, that looks pretty good, but we can make it look even better. Let's apply bevel alpha so we can create some light areas on the grid. Bevel alpha. Okay, and why nothing is happening? Interesting. Let's just pump up the edge thickness, and as you can see, it affects the whole image. Not exactly what we're looking for. So how can we make this work in our favor? Well, let's just turn off the CC composite and glow just for now and move our grid above in the stack so we can focus only on the grid. Grids have different blending modes. Let's set it to none for this case and go to bevel alpha and change the edge thickness to 2. Okay, now we're seeing something, right? Right, so let's just set the angle correctly and see how it looks. Okay, pretty good. I think that we can take the edge thickness and connect it to our border and make it half of that size. It should create a nice, relatively nice sizes. Okay, so if you want to increase the border, you can easily do that. That's pretty nice. Let's make it 6. And let's go back and turn our glow. Not much is happening except that we've got those nasty spills again. But okay, that's fine. Let's just forget about it for now. And turn on our CC composite. Nothing happens because we've been set to stencil alpha mode. But right now, I think the mode that we can set is behind. And make sure to uncheck RGB only. Ta-da! Pretty nice. Now we can just take the glow, put it below, and once again apply CC composite and change the blending mode to stencil alpha. Pretty nice. And we've got this all on one layer, which is exactly what I want. No additional layers needed. That's pretty cool. Let's just play with the threshold settings a little bit. Again, okay. This really makes it look nice. Really nice. Okay, so what next? Having that done, we can now reset the transformation of this layer. And by the way, we didn't actually need to do all that with those glows and CC composites and stuff like that, but I really wanted to show you how powerful this plugin is and how useful it may be if used wisely. We didn't create any additional layers, masks, pre-comps or anything like that, so it is pretty handy. Okay, so having that, we can now pre-compose our screen, move all attributes, and let's call this huge TV set. Because that's what it is, right? Okay, and again, we can turn the 3D switch back on and play a little bit. Very cool. And the next thing to do is to create a reflection. And again, we're not going to do it by duplicating the layer, flipping the layer, lowering the opacity and all that stuff. No. We're going to use CC Composite once more. Keep in mind what I said. CC Composite overlays the original footage or pre-comp on top of any effects that are applied before CC Composite, just like you saw a second ago. So, having that in mind, let's just reset the position and move it back so we can see what I'm doing here. Okay, and let's focus on how the reflection looks without figuring out how we're going to do it actually. So first of all, let's use linear wipe. And the funny thing is that I never use linear wipe to do transitions, even though it is a transition effect. I usually use it to create quick masks like that, which are pretty good and pretty useful. Okay, so we definitely need to reflect this part, right? It's going to be semi-transparent and it's going to go the other way. So this is exactly what I'm doing here right now. You can play with the feather and all other options. This is pretty cool. And what next? Now we need to repeat this edge basically below the bottom of the layer. So let's just try applying Reptile once more. And when we're going to expand it right, it's going to work. Expand it left, same thing. Expand it up, as you see, works as well, but when we're going to expand it down, we're not seeing anything. And this is because this part is being displayed in here and it is wiped off due to use of linear wipe. If I'm going to decrease it, you're going to see this, huh? Okay, so how do we fix that? Well, it's actually pretty simple. We've got the tiling option set to repeat, and what we need to do is to set it to unfold. Ta-da! Okay, so what now? Come on, you know the words. CC Composite, that's it, okay? And let's put it in front, that's right, and check RGB only off. Therefore, we're also compositing the original alpha channel. Doesn't this look nice? It looks pretty cool. But there's one thing I would like to change. Let's apply the offset filter. And we can now offset the reflection like so. Because I don't like this edge that is created by the grid. So if we're going to just move it up a little bit, it's going to be much more subtle. I think that's really great. And the cool thing about this is that we can also use any kind of effects between Reptile and CC Composites. So for example, we can use blurs, glows, or turbulence, or displacement maps for that matter. And we're going to use not a displacement map, but another displacement filter. Turbulence displace. And let's set the size to a very low number, 3 or 5. This looks good. And we can set the amount to a little bit higher number, but maybe let's not over exaggerate it. Okay, I think that's fine. Maybe 7. You can tweak this up to make it look whatever you like, of course. You can increase the complexity, and you can of course create a separate displacement map and then use displacement map filter instead of turbulence displace. So let's just twirl this down and see how it looks. Okay, it looks pretty cool. But I think we've made the glow, stand out a little bit too much. So let's just go to the huge TV set comp and let's maybe turn off the glow and try applying it in here. Glow after all the other effects. Okay, that's a little bit better, don't you agree? And I think that we can try moving into 16 bits per channel, and that should create some nice grading, maybe even 32. I really love the way that glow works in 32 bits per channel mode. It really makes the difference. Okay, I think we can leave it like that. And just a quick tip, if you want to change the overall look of this TV screen, you can always change the cell color, for example, changing the cycle repetitions and this will create a much larger cells. And let's just go back to our final to see how it looks. See, now it's a little bit too much, well, for me, right? But it all depends on the footage and on what you're actually looking for. So let's just go back to the original settings that we had here. Okay, so now it's time for a few camera tricks. And just twirl this down. And let's duplicate this layer. I think that we can even trim the composition down to about 100 frames or so, like that. And let's just grab one of those and move it on the x-axis. Something like that. Let's make some space in here so we can see what we're doing. And let's put a new camera in. 35mm preset will do just fine. And we can move those two a little bit to the left, like so, and maybe rotate this one just a little bit. Like so, and push it back. I think that for the sake of rendering time, we can go to half res. Okay, let's just push it back a little bit more, like so. Okay, very good. So trimming the composition down allows us to just take the footage and choose some different parts of it to be displayed on the screens, right? Just like so. So let's see what we like. I think that we can go with this. And also maybe move this a little bit. Looks good. We got a change on this screen, change of shots, that's good. And I'd also like another shot in here. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's just do a quick camera motion. And I must admit that I don't really like working with cameras in After Effects, even though there are many tricks, many camera rigs, and many workflows with cameras to follow. But whenever I can, I avoid using a camera. And in fact, for this motion, there's a cool trick that I can show you. We can go to Camera, Transform Auto Orient, and turn it off. Therefore, we have no point of interest in the camera. And that actually allows us to create nice animations very easily. Let me just show you. Let's move to a wireframe view, so make things faster. Let's create keyframes for position and orientation at the beginning and position and orientation at the end as well. So let's just move here, take the camera tool and just zoom in like that, and let's rotate it a little bit. Okay. Okay. Simple as that, right? Maybe let's just move a little bit closer. Like that. And here we can move the camera like this. And then, okay, that's fine. Maybe move it a little bit closer. And then again, to the side. Okay, not the best camera move ever, but if we would use point of interest as it is in default, then we would have a few problems with this motion. So I'm going to set this keyframe to rove across time, so we maintain the speed so we don't get any abrupt changes in the motion path. Okay, very good. And also some nice easy ease keyframes, just like that. Pretty cool. Let's see how it looks and move to full res. Now that's a pretty nice comp and a pretty nice TV screen. But that's not all. I've got something very, very special for you. Would you believe if I told you that we can achieve the same effect without using any pre-comps and just by using standard presets? Well, if you don't, I'm going to prove you otherwise. Check this out. Let's create a new comp from our footage. Obviously, those 32 bits caused our shine layer to be a little bit too much, so let's just go back to 8 bits for this example. And let's just try to recreate everything that we did using this single layer, without any additional layers, without any pre-comps, just by using simple effects and, of course, CC Composite once more. So let's just quickly repeat the steps. First, we created a ramp. So let's do that. And it's going to be set to 0, 0, and 600 and 0. So we've got a horizontal. Next, colorama. And we set the colorama to RGB. Turn off the interpolation. Shift the phase. RGB, okay, very nice. Next, we've used Reptile, right? But not in this case. Here, we're going to use CC Tiler, which takes the comp and you can scale it down and it will repeat all the pixels. This is very, very cool. Let's just scale it down like so. Maybe 2%. Okay, that looks good. And the last step is to apply CC Composite. And we're going to see how it looks. See, we brought back the original, but we're going to composite it over using the overlay. Well, in this case, it doesn't work. So let's just go to hard light. And haha, very good. Let's maybe make the pixels smaller, 1 or 1.2, 1.3, something that looks right. Okay, I think this is the look. We've got all the colors visible. That's good. So the next step is to apply grid. And we can apply it here. Set the blending mode to normal, color to black. Let's just move it in here. And this one here. Change the border to 3. And change the feather to 1. And ta-da! There you go. Pretty simple. And we can do so much more with this preset, but I don't want to get into it that much because you already saw what is possible. But keep in mind that doing this in a preset also has its limitations. Using pre-comps usually allows you to do whatever you can think of, and using presets, unfortunately, that's not always the case. But anyways, I did prepare a nice preset for you that you can find in the extras preset folder. I encourage you to check it out and play a little bit with it. Check the expressions used, because the preset is built to match any size of footage. You've got many settings you can use, and it creates a pretty decent look and very quick look for these TV screens. If you're doing a lot of TV walls, then you're really gonna love it. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. Once again, this is Making It Look Great number 5. My name is Maltenan. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. See you in the next one. Happy After Effecting!